All right, y'all. This is Anthony Allen with History in the Eyes of a Southerner. I had to think about my new name of my podcast. How about that? Um, I wanted to go ahead and do my complete review now that I have completed Race Against Time by Jerry Mitchell. You know, first thing I want to say is I was listening to it on audiobook on Audible. Jerry, I'm glad, and I hope you see this. I'm glad that you actually narrated it yourself. I don't think somebody else could have told your story as well as you did. I could hear the passion in your voice telling your story, the frustration that you felt when you reflected on the court cases not going to trial, the reluctant prosecutors. When I was listening to you, I could sense your passion, wanting to do the right thing. I don't think somebody else could have told that story as well as you did. Y'all, I highly recommend this book. People want to talk about today, they talk about social justice warriors. Jerry Mitchell is a social justice warrior in its truest sense. He saw something that was completely wrong and completely unacceptable. He did something about it, as we all should. We're men. We see something wrong, we should fix it. He fixed it. He put their butts in prison where they belong. I'm not going to go and tell the entire book. I said I wasn't going to do it, and I'm not. But I'm going to talk about the book. If you haven't read the book, don't listen any further. Please, do not listen any further. I may spoil a few things for you, and I don't want to do that. I really want you to go read the book. And I'm going to leave a lot out so that you'll want to read the book. I'm just going to tell you if you haven't already. Starts off, Jerry Mitchell is describing, his opening statements are him describing the opening scenes of the 1988 movie Mississippi Burning. And it spawns into him being a young journalist with the Clarion Ledger out of Jackson. And he sees these people, Klansmen, finds out they have been prosecuted. Going to the history side of this, um, Mississippi, obviously, sadly, regrettably, has a checkered racist past. This was a fact when Emmett Till was killed in Money, Mississippi in 1955, along with many, many others, but that was the case that brought everything to light. Um, Jim Crow laws. If you're black, back at a bus you go. Vernon Dahmer case, which he mentioned in the book. Vernon Dahmer was a man that all he wanted to do was get people disenfranchised to be able to vote. Goodman, Schwerner, Cheney, the only thing they were trying to do was get people to vote in Shelby County and Lauderdale County. Medgar Evers, the only thing he was trying to do was make sure that black people could live the same quality of life as white people. They were all killed. Medgar Evers in 1963, Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner, 1964. Vernon Dahmer, 1966. Emmett Till was killed in 1955 from whistling at a white woman, allegedly, Carolyn Bryant. And years later, it come out he never even whistled at her. Whistling. Really? That's enough to get somebody killed. Would have been dead a long time ago. Jerry Mitchell went out of his way to get justice. The book also left me with a lot of questions. Some of the questions Jerry probably can't answer. Jim Hood can, former Attorney General for the state of Mississippi. He can answer it. Mike Moore can answer it, former Attorney General for the state of Mississippi. I want to know why Mississippi burning trial, the Philadelphia case, which took the majority of the book, by the way, and the Neshoba case was also what inspired him to start looking into these hate crimes. I want to know why Edgar Ray Killen was the only one charged in 2004. Why he was the only one indicted. Why not Olin Burridge? He was still alive. Why wouldn't the Mississippi Sovereignty Commission, members of the Mississippi Sovereignty Commission, why weren't they indicted? For those of y'all that don't know, and you know what, I think that's what this episode's going to be about. There was an organization, a state agency called the Mississippi Sovereignty Commission. It was founded in 1956 under Governor Colvin. It got the biggest booster shot of any state agency after 1959 under Governor Ross Barnett. After him, Governor Paul B. Johnson was there. And then it was shut down in 1977, and the records were supposedly sealed. They were supposed to be sealed for 50 years to make sure long after everybody was dead. Thank you again, Jerry Mitchell. You and the ACLU took care of that. God bless you for it. But look at the State Sovereignty Commission and what it was. If I had to compare the Mississippi Sovereignty Commission to anything known on this earth, I would say the Russian KGB and the Nazi Gestapo would be about the same level as the Mississippi Sovereignty Commission. I actually say that, and I can back that up. If you were white and you went to the COFO office, NAACP office, to an NAACP rally, they knew you. And they would use subtle tactics, get you fired, go after your job, maybe have you arrested for something, cooperate with local law enforcement. Then you had the not so settled uh, occurrences. Dr. Gilbert Mason in Biloxi found that out in 1960 on the beach. Everybody goes to the beach to have a good time. He went down there and got his ass beat on by lead pipes. The cops went, phew, cops left. Citizens went out there with lead pipes. And then the cops went in and arrested the black people for being on the beach. There was a preacher in Philadelphia, Mississippi, by the name of Germany, wanted to start a seminary, black people, black preachers. They beat him within an inch of his life. He slipped off to Texas with his family and started it over there. So I think the mission didn't carry and went to Texas. That's Texas' problem. If white, you were a white female and you gave birth to an interracial child, I think her name was Melody Warsham. I think she was up in Grenada. Oh yeah, that was the ultimate sin. Blacks and whites being friends, or God forbid, having sex. Bad times back then. We don't have that anymore, thank God. But it's something that bears talking about. This is what Mississippi used to be. We're not like that anymore, and I'm proud to say it. Most of us. Um, I want to say that Mississippi is moving forward. I also want to say that Mississippi is ingrained with our own history, and we should be. Our flag, symbols, and monuments should not be changed. I will say that because that is our history. If you refuse to acknowledge the history, if you try to suppress it, oh, that's bad. We don't, nope, nope, no trace of it. It's coming around again. I personally don't want to see a sovereignty commission come back up for any reason. The whole purpose of me doing a historical podcast is to stop that. I want people to, I want people to know what happened so that it doesn't happen again. Which I think is why Jerry wrote his book, Race Against Time. And Race Against Time, he literally was in a race against time. Okay? Medgar Evers was killed in 1963. The man that killed him was convicted in 1996. He was an old man by then. Byron De La Beckwith was what, in his 70s? Gary Mitchell made sure he paid that price. Gary Mitchell, Ed Peters, and Bobby DeLauder did anyway. I personally would like to see more people pay that price. If you were alive, there's no statute of limitations on murder. You kind of need to go to prison. I'd be glad to welcome you. I'd be glad to give you a nice warm reception there at Parchman. The other part of this, and this is why it took so long and why this book that Jerry wrote was so important. And again, I wish he would do more on the Mississippi Sovereignty Commission and tell how horrible that agency used to be and was, since it no longer exists anymore. But again, those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. I don't want to repeat it. Um, the first two trials of Byron De La Beckwith, who killed Medgar Evers in 1963, yeah, the state and the district attorney was trying to prosecute. The Sovereignty Commission was working actively against the interests of the district attorney to try to get him off. In the 1960s, I'm white. I could walk up to a black man and put a bullet in his head in the middle of a police department with 500 reporters standing around me with cameras on national TV, and I wouldn't so much as even get arrested. Hell, they may have gave me a bullet to replace it. Murder is a state charge. It's a state level charge. Murder is not a federal charge. You would think it would be. It's not. You walk up and kill somebody, you're going to state prison because it's a state charge. Feds came in and charged some of the ones in the Mississippi burning case, the Philadelphia case, with civil rights violations, but not murder. The reason that Byron De La Beckwith was allowed to be retried a third time was because he wasn't acquitted. Okay, double jeopardy, Fifth Amendment, the double jeopardy clause in the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution states that you may not be tried for the same crime twice. Once you've been acquitted, you're done. He ended in two hung juries in the 60s, thus opening up the door for a third once the Hinds County District Attorney decided that they were going to do it. Got around every objection from the defense. Sixth Amendment right to a speedy trial, all that good stuff. Got around all of it. That opened the door. That opened the door for Sam Bowers to be prosecuted. That opened the door for Bobby Cherry over in Alabama That opened the door for Edgar Ray killing. I still have to ask, why wasn't Olin Burridge charged? Olin Burridge was where the bodies of the three civil rights workers were found. Olin Burridge, best I can recall, lives just a couple of miles off of Highway 19 in Neshoba County, in between Philadelphia and House. I believe he's out in the Deemer community, if I'm not mistaken. He's dead now, too. But my question is, he was alive and well in 2005. He didn't die in 2012, best I can recall. Why wasn't he charged? Because the Klan wasn't going to go plant somebody on his property without his permission. Guaranteed. I've never met Olin Burridge, but I know a few people who have, and they told me that. And I believe them. Keep in mind, I used to live in Neshoba County. Briefly, but I lived there. I call that part of the country God's country. And it's beautiful. I love it up there. But what I'm getting at is more should have been tried. And it shouldn't have taken 40 years to get Edgar Ray Killen indicted. It should have been done, I would say, right after Byron D. LeBeckwith and Sam Bowers, all in the same time frame, not almost 9 years after Edgar Ray, Byron D. LeBeckwith, and 7 years after Sam Bowers. If you look at it, you'll see that there was a lot of things that should have done and were not. But I'm thankful for what was done. And I'm glad that people had the integrity to see the error in their ways, and that I can proudly say that as a whole, Mississippi has matured. Thank you for watching and listening. Anthony Allen, this is history. This is history from the eyes of a Southerner.